All right. Good afternoon. My name is Oreen Chowdhury. I'm the Minneapolis City Council member representing the 12th Ward, Chair of Intergovernmental Relations, oldest daughter of working class immigrants. Today, local and state elected officials are here to update the public as Minneapolis and Minnesota face what we believe is an unconstitutional, violent, and brutal ICE occupation. Many of us are on the ground with our communities, and what we are witnessing is harrowing. We demand it stop immediately, and the federal agents who harm our neighbors are held accountable. The murder of Renee Good and the ongoing violence we are seeing from ICE agents makes one thing very, very clear. This harm is coming from ICE, and it is making our communities less safe. It has gone so far that parents and educators are now preparing for ICE activity on school property, something that's already occurred from Roosevelt High School in my ward, where parents on the ground have reported that chemical irritants were used against them in the direction of teenage kids. We stand with our immigrant neighbors who have no choice but to leave their jobs and to stay safe and protect their families. We stand with the mothers organizing mutual aid, with constitutional observers bravely documenting these actions so that accountability is possible, with everyday people being called to do far more than they should ever have to be asked to do. There's a lot of talk about Minnesota nice, and while that is who we are, what we are seeing right now is Minnesota grit, a shared fierce commitment to caring for our neighbors and to one another, block by block. That resolve is how we will get through this moment and how we will get justice. As elected officials, our core responsibility is to represent you, to show up and to advocate for our communities. Today, you'll hear from leaders across government who are doubling down on that commitment to you and working day in and day out with each other in service to the people and on the ground. We are announcing that we will be launching a regular short live-streamed update, kind of like a live-streamed newsletter across local government to keep the public informed. Details for that will be forthcoming and will be shared through our official channels. With that, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Councilmember Jason Chavez.
Good morning. My name is Jason Chavez. I have the honor and privilege representing Ward 9 on the Minneapolis City Council, and I'm the proud son of Mexican immigrants. I stand before all of you here today against the invasion of ICE, not only in Minneapolis, but in the country known as the United States of America. This morning, while I was out in my community, I witnessed out get out their vehicles on East Lake Street and on Lake Street and all over South Minneapolis, simply questioning people based on the way that they looked. They were scoping out the Phillips neighborhoods next to our community centers on particular blocks, waiting for people to go to work so they can kidnap them. What we are seeing in the streets of Minneapolis and in this state should never be normalized. Masked agents hiding their faces, not identifying themselves, driving recklessly across Minneapolis and in the state, and holding massive guns to terrorize our communities. They go up to random people on bus stops and ask about their immigration status. They follow you because of the color of your skin, to the point where brown people and immigrants have to carry their freaking passports in their pockets. And they racially profile you. And I want to give a warning to our neighbors that they are also kidnapping people with visas. And I say that here out loud today because I want you to be safe and secure and make adequate plans to keep people safe, because they're not just coming for undocumented people, they are targeting people that are immigrants. I want to speak loudly on what our community is saying. The color of your skin is not a crime. Going to work is not a crime. Picking up your kids is not a crime. Being in this country as an immigrant is not a crime. Pumping gas is not a crime. And most importantly, this is our community's home. This is where our loved ones and community members have their whole lives. But I do want to tell you what is a crime. It is a crime to murder Renee Good and our neighbors. It is a crime to use excessive force. It is a crime to ignore due process. and it is a crime to illegally break into people's homes. We should be concerned about what is happening on the streets of Minneapolis and in the state, where they are forcing our immigrant neighbors back into the shadows, and they are forcing people to carry passports even though they are citizens, because these ICE agents do not respect the law. And I just want to talk about one instance of what just happened, and then I'll pass it on to the next speaker. On January 12th, ICE rammed into a U.S. citizen Latino on the area of 34th and Park. They rammed into him. And then what did they do after they ran into him? They asked him about his immigration status. He is a U.S. citizen. So they ram into your car and then question your citizenship status. That is the country that we are living in Minneapolis. So what are we going to do from here? We're asking our neighbors to rise up and to support their immigrant neighbors. Provide your neighbors with rides to work and back. Support your immigrant-owned businesses. We need people posted up in these locations with your whistles to make sure that you alert your neighbors when immigration enforcement is happening. Make sure that you are fundraising with mutual aid so you can provide your neighbors with rent assistance. Because if we actually are going to stop immigration enforcement from occurring in our neighborhoods, one of the things that we need to do as government, as community, is make sure that people have money for rent and food. That is why people are going to work. If we can't address that issue, people are going to continue to go to work. So that is on us as elected officials here to address that rent issue that is happening along with food, but we're also asking neighbors to step up and help us out in this situation and continue to patrol your neighborhoods, please.
Next, we'll have Representative Mike Howard.
Good morning. My name is Michael Howard, and I'm a state representative representing the communities of Richfield and South Minneapolis in the Minnesota House. We are here today because our communities in the metro, suburbs, and throughout the state are under siege from a federal government that is increasingly brutalizing our citizens and immigrants alike, racially profiling Minnesotans indiscriminately, and violently detaining citizens who are exercising their freedom of speech. In each of these encounters, it is ICE and federal agents that are the aggressors, escalating towards violence in direct opposition to the training that law enforcement officers undergo. They are creating a state of fear that is destabilizing our communities and making them less safe for all of us. And since the murder of Renee Good, these behaviors and unlawful actions have escalated. In the community I represent in Richfield, in the last few days, Border Patrol agents racially profiled and violently arrested and detained 2 U.S. citizens who were working at Target. And this is the tip of the iceberg. Agents have pepper sprayed and haunted our schools. They have battered down the door of a home without a federal warrant, a direct violation of the Fourth Amendment. They've shoved peaceful observers into traffic, caused car wrecks, and left the scene. And all of these actions, I mean, this is just a fraction of what we're seeing. It's happening minute by minute, community by community, all across our state, and it needs to end. One of the main reasons we're here today is to highlight these abuses and encourage members of the press to continue to report from the perspective of Minnesotans what is happening on the ground by the minute in our communities. Do not believe the propaganda from our federal government. Believe your own eyes in the videos we are seeing minute by minute all across our state. We plan to gather and continue to provide these examples with regularity, both for the public and for the press, because it is vital that we bring sunlight to the darkness that our federal government is trying to impose on our state. In addition, we want to tell Minnesotans that have faced this unlawful aggression that you have rights. We encourage you to contact the ACLU, who has set up a portal to document these abuses, and you can report those abuses at aclu-minnesota.org. And you're surrounded by legislators, and there are legislators throughout the state that stand ready to support and advocate for you and your rights. Lastly, a message to Minnesotans. We are so proud of you and the way you are rising up and standing up for your neighbors and communities to meet this unthinkable moment. You might think that in the wake of Renee Good's murder and this escalation of violence, that you would see people tap out and say, this is too scary, this is too hard for me to support my neighbors. We have seen the opposite. More neighbors than ever before have raised their hand to say, I want to help. I want to be a part of the solution, large and small, to support my neighbors and communities. For every agent that Donald Trump sends to our state, there are Minnesotans tenfold saying, get out, and I'm here to support my communities. And so what that tells me is that Donald Trump and his attempt to divide and conquer our state, it is failing spectacularly. Because Minnesotans are strong, they're united like I've never seen them before. Tens of thousands of Minnesotans building muscles they didn't know they had to support their neighbors. And next, I want to introduce one of those strong Minnesotans who experienced this unlawful violence from immigration officials, Patty O'Keefe. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Patty O'Keefe. On Sunday, this past Sunday, January 11th, myself and my good friend Brandon Seguenza were violently arrested and detained by ICE. During that encounter, we had an ICE agent spray pepper spray into our windshield vent. They then broke our windows, dragged us out of our vehicles, handcuffed us, and put us in separate cars. On the way over to the Whipple Detention Center, I was taunted, mocked. I was called ugly. There was a picture taken of me, just like belittled and demoralized. Also, on that same ride, one of the agents said that you guys got to stop obstructing us. That's why that lesbian bitch is dead. Speaking about Renee Good. Obviously, like, that was shocking, bigoted, deeply dehumanizing thing to hear. And I think it's important, though, that people know that this is what agents are saying. When we got to the detention center, we saw probably about 100 people in holding cells. Some of them were really large holding cells. Some of them were smaller holding cells. Mostly Hispanic, but also many East African people. We heard screaming, crying, just visceral agony from many of the people who were there. You know, someone saying, let me go, let me go, let me go, please, let me go, begging. We heard a child crying, and so that kind of juxtaposed with the lighthearted conversations, the joking around, the small talk of all of the federal agents that were also in that facility and making this operation happen was another kind of deeply disturbing experience for me. My friend Brandon was brought into another room for questioning, where he was offered money or legal protection for any undocumented family members that he might have in exchange for names of other undocumented people or names of protest organizers, a bribe, essentially. And another person in his cell, a Hispanic man, was offered that same deal. They both said no. Yeah, it was a deeply disturbing experience. I had a short conversation with a Border Patrol agent who, you know, was wondering why we were here, why we were so passionate about this. And at the end of it, he goes, you know, I think, you know, I kind of just think that we thought all you guys are crazy, right? And so you have people that are desensitized or okay with dehumanization, and also think that people that are out here trying to defend their neighbors are crazy. And that's a really dangerous combination, and I think that is coming across in the way that we see that ICE officers are conducting themselves with people across the city. So I am just one example of many. I luckily got to come home from that detention center, and most of the people there did not. This is craziness, and it needs to come to an end. Thank you.
Next up is Senator Doran Clark.
My name is Doran Clark. I'm the state senator proudly representing Northeast Minneapolis, Cedar Riverside, the University of Minnesota, and Southeast Minneapolis. I want to highlight two events that have happened in the last couple of days. On Sunday night, at the All Ages show at Pillar Forum, just as the show was getting started, an ICE activity occurred 2 doors up. The kids all came running outside. This was an All Ages show, and ICE promptly pepper sprayed them, and they ran back inside. I saw them with their eyes fully red, and the staff taking care of them and clearing out those eyes. Kids just trying to have a fun Sunday night, pepper sprayed on Central Avenue. Yesterday, I was near the neighborhood middle school when I saw a teacher crying. I said, "What's happening?" And she said, "There's ICE parked in front of the school." Went over there, and the parents had helped either watch that car drive away. That ICE vehicle was gone. But more importantly than seeing that teacher who was crying was I saw parents step in their place to help them. More importantly, I saw other teachers come and take that person's place, and that's what we're seeing all over the state. That's what we're seeing at all of our schools. We're seeing PTAs who have never been this organized getting together on Sunday and saying, what do we need to do? Organizing walking patrols from where the buses drop the kids off, from where the parents drop the kids off, so the kids can get inside and feel more comfortable. Minneapolis school kids have been through a lot this year. We had Annunciation, and now we've got ICE parking outside of our schools, driving by our schools at drop-off, at pickup. I'm so proud of our parents. I'm so proud of our neighbors. They're doing the work to get organized, and I ask you to do the same. Make sure you're knowing your rights. Make sure you're finding where to get involved in your rapid response locally. We've all got each other. We can all do this, and I'm so glad that our neighbors recognize the moment that we're stepping up to it.
Next up is Hennepin County Commissioner Angela Conley.
Good morning or afternoon. My name is Angela Conley, Hennepin County Commissioner, C-O-N-L-E-Y. I represent the south side of Minneapolis, southeast Minneapolis, Fort Snelling, and the University of Minnesota. And I'm showing up in this space extraordinarily upset, extraordinarily pissed off at what has been going on in my neighborhood. 6 blocks away from me, Renee Good was murdered. 5 blocks away from me, there was another murder 5 years ago that our community has not healed from, George Floyd. On 34th and Park yesterday, as you heard, our neighbors, our United States citizens' neighbors, are being harassed, detained, and racially profiled, and it's disgusting. And I think if you're not upset, you're not paying attention. We can't yet calculate the impact of the ICE occupation on Hennepin County, on our people, on our community, but what we do know is that people are fearful of leaving their homes. Residents have been abducted by ICE, and our county and community spaces are often surrounded by ICE. Make no mistake, this is an occupation. It is extremely heavy. It is an extremely heavy time here. We are in the firing line once again by the federal government, and so many of us are filled with anxiety, anger, and sadness, and imagine what that will do to our physical and mental health. We are not okay. ICE agents have occupied our safety net hospital for the last week. Our hospitals are sacred spaces. They have been asked to leave multiple times, given that there has been no judicially signed warrant presented to hospital leadership, presented to security staff or security leadership. Imagine the fear, imagine the outrage, and the feelings of helplessness that our bedside staff and all hospital staff are experiencing right now. They just came off of caring for patients from the Annunciation shooting. They are still traumatized by COVID. Imagine how they are feeling at HCMC right now. And in what I believe is a retaliatory move, but allowable under federal regulations, DHS has requested from hospital leadership I-9s of all employees. When an I-9, which is a federal document, is requested, from hospital leadership, and the federal government already has the information anyway because employers are mandated to provide that information to the federal government. As we've seen at Harvard University, they were subpoenaed to produce I-9s, and they had no other choice but to comply. Hennepin County Medical Center has been offered an extension to provide this information. We are looking at all of our options. Hospital leadership will be in the process of communicating to hospital staff today. Despite their own fears and personal impacts, county staff and partners continue to show up to meet residents' needs, processing applications for public assistance, providing care at our clinics, continuing community outreach, connecting residents to essential services, and caring for sick patients, and many more things. At our county board meeting yesterday, my colleagues and I unanimously passed a resolution reaffirming our strong support for staff and community who are witnessing and experiencing traumatic events every single day, and voicing our continued commitment to providing essential services, connection, and care for all people at this extraordinarily challenging time. In the coming days, leaders and staff across Hennepin County will launch something called Operation Reconnect, and that is to build in real time community's collective response, including mental health response and emergency first aid to what is happening to our families, neighbors, and communities. And that will be happening all across the county. To our Hennepin County communities, we see you, we grieve with you, and we are actively working to support you. As part of Operation Reconnect, we will adapt to the ways that the community is changing and work to provide safe, effective, welcoming care for our patients and services to our residents, and support to our staff who are impacted. We are meeting with care. We are meeting xenophobia with a commitment to eliminate it. We are meeting fear with courage. We are meeting division with unity. And we are meeting separation with community. This is a whole of government response that recognizes not only what we face right now, but what our overwhelming commitment to our residents is. Our county website will include all of this information and a response page, a go-to page, listing supportive services that are available and recommended resources. If you cannot come to us, we will come to you. Part of the emergency response or essential response from Hennepin County will be continued essential services, SNAP, WIC, economic supports, housing supports. We are still in the business of preventing homelessness. Family home visiting. We recognize that people are not making it to their maternal health appointments. They're not making it to their OB appointments. We will provide family home visiting so that nobody goes without care. Mental health supports. Hennepin County has a crisis team that is mobilized and ready to occupy spaces with community. We were just at Modern Times last night with residents to provide healing needs. Emergency needs are in full effect. That includes services from our Office of Multicultural Services that provides help and support for immigrants and people with limited English proficiency. Adult Representation Services has been fully activated. That gives legal help and for people experiencing poverty or anyone who needs help with immigration-related services. Finally, I will conclude by saying that we have redesigned our services to meet this emergent need. As you heard earlier, we will be providing briefings as a multi-jurisdictional unit committed to supporting our residents. We have redesigned to serve residents, and that is the number one thing that Hennepin County is committed to under this egregious and violent occupation by the federal government, knowing that it might not be safe to get help in times like this. We will be deepening our partnerships with neighborhood organizations and associations and trusted community partners to provide access. We are redesigning delivery to meet the needs of this moment right now. If ICE is stopping residents from coming to us, again, I cannot stress this enough, we will come to you. Our job is to help you, the residents of this city, the residents of this county and state, be resilient, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Thank you.
Next up is Council President Elliott Payne.
My name is Elliott Payne. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the president of Minneapolis City Council. This Monday, I started my morning helping transport kids to school so that they could arrive safely. And by Monday evening, I was assaulted by ICE myself. I was on Central Avenue observing the community, standing with my community when I saw ICE go and harass an individual waiting for the bus to go home from work. I stood there and I just kept my distance and was legally observing their operations when an ICE agent pushed me from behind. He pushed me from behind because I was watching the other ICE agent with my eyes as he was pointing his taser at every single individual that was there to help watch this resident for their safety. This is the type of reckless behavior that is unfolding in our city. I introduced myself as the council president. I tried to stir up a conversation with them to de-escalate, and even when the council president is made present and aware, they're still assaulting us. This recklessness needs to stop, and it's important that our community knows that you have rights. You have the right to observe these operations, and especially if you are vulnerable, you can stay home, and you have the right to keep your door shut. You have a right to demand a judicial warrant, and if they don't have a judicial warrant, you do not have to open your door. The city is making a lot of investments into making sure that people know their rights, that we have legal services available to people. We've strengthened our separation ordinance. We've banned the use of city-owned property for staging of ICE operations. Our partners at the Park Board have also banned the use of their property, and if you witness this on park property, make sure to send an email to immigrationnprb.legal@minneapolisparks.org so that we can stay on top of this. And this is not just a whole government approach to this, this is a whole community approach to this. So stay engaged, stay out there, keeping watch of your neighborhood, stay providing mutual aid to your neighbors, getting groceries, helping get kids to school, helping families get to work. Thank you so much.
Our last speaker is School Board Chair Colin Beachy.
Good afternoon. My name is Colin Beachy. I'm the current chair of the Board of Education in Minneapolis. And I would like to start by speaking to our community and, most importantly, our students and our staff. On behalf of the Board of Education, we are with you, and we will always be with you. These are trying times for all of us, but we are not only your elected officials, we are your neighbors, we are your family members, and we are with you. Our students have been witness to, and many have experienced firsthand, as you have been hearing, significant trauma and tragedy over the past few days. I personally, I am sad and I am angry about what our community is going through. On behalf of the board, I'd like to express my deepest condolences to the family and community of Renee Good. We are so sorry for your unimaginable loss, and we mourn with you and we share your anger. As adults and educators, we have a duty to protect and nurture our students. What we've been living through is just the opposite. These moments remind us how important, though, it is to stand together, as we are doing here today, and that we will continue to do tomorrow, the next day, however long it takes. At Minneapolis Public Schools, we believe that everyone belongs, and we are committed to doing everything we can to keep our students, our staff, and our families safe. To the elected officials behind me, I'm so proud of all of you for standing up for our children and putting them first. I thank you for everything that you are doing. I thank you for your coordination with us, and I look forward to our continued partnership as this all continues. We will get through this. Let's continue to lead with compassion and unity as we work to support our community. I want to thank you all again for being here and for the dedication and work that you are doing. I do have something else I need to address. Minneapolis Public Schools has been focused on providing direct support to our students, our staff, and our families. We acknowledge the fear, anxiety, and uncertainty that many in our community have expressed. Schools and school districts exist within communities, and what happens in the community impacts our learning environments. As of Monday, our high schoolers were sent back to school. Many of them had were able to opt into an online option. That option was available to our elementary schools yesterday. To our parents, any questions you have, we have 75 schools. It's going to look different at every school. So I require everyone to just go ahead, talk to your local school leaders. On behalf of the board, Minneapolis Public Schools also supports the federal lawsuit filed on behalf of the state of Minnesota alongside the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul against the Department of Homeland Security and related agencies and officials, asking the court to end the surge of DHS agents into the state and to leave our kids alone.
That's right. Leave our kids alone.
On behalf of our community at MPS, we'd like to thank our government partners for taking this next step. I thank you all, and we are with you.
Thank you. With that, we can take a few questions. Thank you. Today, the judge asked for an additional briefing by both parties next week, and that will be followed by a hearing. A decision has not been made yet on our request for a temporary restraining order, and so we would like those steps to proceed. We are hopeful. We hope that this lawsuit grants that temporary restraining order. As many elected officials indicated, there is a great need and there's a great violation of people's constitutional rights happening in our city streets and throughout the state of Minnesota. Thank you. Anyone else? Right over there.
Starting today with today's press briefing, the point of this press briefing is to make sure that all the units of government within the state of Minnesota are coordinated and vetting information to get out to the public, because we think that this information is really important to the public.
Can I take a crack at that too? Sorry,
Go ahead.
Mike Howard, just wanted to take a crack at that question too. We'll be providing, what I would say is that a lot of it is just video recorded by Minnesotans, and we'll be working to provide that on a regular basis. What I can say is so much is occurring minute by minute, hour by hour, that there's a chaotic nature to that. We'll be providing as much as we can, but we would ask the press to do the same. Be out in communities, in the streets, follow up on this information, because, what happened at our Richfield Target turned into a national news story. There are national news stories essentially happening by the minute. Things that are not normal, things that have not happened in hundreds of years in this country. And so I just can't underscore the scale and the depth of the depravity of what we're seeing from our immigration officials. That's why it's so important for the press to be covering those, and we'll be working to provide as much information as we can in our roles as our community members send them to us.
Yes, and I'll just say, as the city of Minneapolis, we have a joint information center that's gone up that is communicating across departments and jurisdictions. And so every briefing that we will do through this new virtual format, we'll make sure to vet through that information center and those leaders. Next question. I don't think we have today someone to speak to that, but we can follow up with you so you can get the accurate information.
First, I would say is the thing that will end the terror and fear that our communities are facing is for Border Patrol and ICE to get the hell out of the state of Minnesota. But to state legislators, we are having conversations, looking at what other states have done to try to pull every lever we can with the lens of how do we keep our communities and neighbors safe. So there are. I would expect legislation to be introduced. We're having those conversations. As you mentioned, the session is still, more than 5 weeks away. So there's work that needs to happen right now, and we're very supportive of the legal action that Attorney General Ellison has taken. But we'll continue to explore legislative items, a lot of the folks behind me here and other legislators.
We are on the front line, and every day we are routinely seeing suppression of our community members using their First Amendment rights. That's why we had a community member, Patty, join us today. She was doing legal observation, she was legally documenting, and she was detained and then absolutely mistreated by ICE agents. There have been several reports on the ground of observers willing to cooperate with ICE agents that have pulled them over, willing to stop, and then we're seeing ICE agents break their windows, we're seeing ICE agents pull them out of their vehicles, just this absolute level of brutality to strike fear in our community members, and that is why we're asking community members to direct complaints to the ACLU here in Minnesota so action can be taken and accountability and justice can be found. Two more? Go ahead. Accountability and justice can be found.
One right over here.
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Hi. Look like, are they being let out eventually?
Some have gone out, some have not been gone out. They've been kidnapped and sent back to a country they haven't been to for years. So there are definitely folks with work permits, visas that have been kidnapped by ICE and have been sent back to countries that they have not been into, which is super concerning behavior because it's not only targeting our undocumented immigrants, but it's also targeting folks with different statuses in this country. And we have seen this across Minneapolis and in the state.
I just wanted to add one thing on this note. Today, the New York Times reported that over 100 refugees from Minnesota with legal status have been sent to Texas. And this is something that we saw President Trump get up and say that these are steps along the way to his ultimate plan, which is to strip legal status from people who have gone through our process. I mean, in a lot of cases, refugees and asylum seekers will be killed if they are sent back to their countries. And so we just have to understand the timeline that we're on, but that is happening today in Minneapolis. Sorry, my name's Aisha Gomez, representative for District 62A in South Minneapolis.
And we'll also add that we see a lot of our Native American, Indigenous community members being stopped, unlawfully, racially profiled. I will go to you next.
From The Guardian. I was wondering what advice you have for residents who experience like property damage, cars rammed into, as you mentioned, or doors rammed into, even if they haven't been detained, now they're left with all this damage to pay for.
Yeah, that's a great question. You want to go for it?
Our recommendation would be for any of those Minnesotans to contact the ACLU of Minnesota. For reference, the ACLU of Minnesota has already filed a lawsuit against ICE for their practice of targeting peaceful observers. So one lawsuit was filed in December on behalf of several Minnesotans. And, since that lawsuits been filed, countless other examples are present. And so I'll mention the website again, which is aclu-mn.org. There's an easy-to-use online form for Minnesotans to fill out. We would recommend that if you've experienced any damage or violence incurred by federal agents, that you fill out that form.
We'll do one more question from somebody who hasn't.
I wonder if you could, Patty, adds to that.
Sorry, just quickly, I've been told that folks should keep their receipts if they're going and making fixes to their cars, to keep the receipts in case they do enter into some sort of lawsuit and then can recoup those charges. And there also has been discussion around whether, the breaking of the windows is also just another strategy to get more cars of legal observers off of the streets. So just wanted to add that.
There is one thing I'll just add. So we have been seeing a lot of abductions happening while people are driving their cars, people being pulled out of their cars, and then the car is just left in the street, sometimes in the middle of the street. There was a case where it was left running in the city of Minneapolis. If you're a family member that is going to grab a car of a loved one, you can tell the tow that it was due to immigration enforcement, and there will be no fee applied to that. We have one more question. Yes, go.
Speak to ICE obscuring their faces and how that impacts the ability to get accountability in cases of brutality.
Thank you for the question. That is one of the things that legislators are looking at in terms of legislation. It is not a safe practice for law enforcement officers to cover their face, as ICE officers are doing. It's just another example of practices that well-trained law enforcement officers never would utilize, and it creates a dangerous situation for community members and folks alike. And so we are pursuing, and other legislators are looking at what sort of legislation or tools we can use to address this in a line of many examples of really unsafe behavior and practices by ICE.
I just want to echo what some of our local chiefs have been saying about obscuring faces. This is not good practice within policing. And so if you listen to the police chiefs who have talked about this, there is a reason that they don't want to have masks on police. It